Chris Bowie. Chris Bowie helped us with the program for the future. He brought in a new tool, which was something that Doug had said we needed to do. So let me turn it over to Chris.
Thank you, Maylin, and good afternoon, everyone. It is such an honor to be here in such a beautiful space. How many of you are fans of oak trees? Oak trees, yes, I am as well, and these are absolutely beautiful and stunning. So thanks, Maylin, and this is the actual device that we use. It's an interactive voting system. It's a pretty benign tool. The whole idea is we look for collective intelligence, we meaning my organization called the American Focus, and our 9 partner groups, which are launching next year in Palo Alto, a scalable collective intelligence and shared wisdom program, which really meets the qualities and metrics and measurements and concepts of Doug. But this is based upon my doing this in communities, in schools and organizations and businesses for the last 23 years, figuring out what people will trust. And so what we've learned is something called the Sacred Code of Democracy. And it is a set of principles with how you design a project, how you facilitate a meeting, and how you work with people to where at the end of what we do, the most skeptical, jaded, mistrusting, frustrated, completely angry, upset person in that room will still not agree with everything that we did, but they absolutely have to agree with how we did it. And so that is something that when I think of Doug's work, and Doug's work was first brought to my attention in 1992 when we did our first town hall in San Francisco, which happened to be at the same library where Doug did his mother of all demonstrations. Somebody in that room was also at his demonstration and came up after and said, "My God, you won't believe what happened here in 1968." And he explained to us what happened, and so that's when I first checked it out, and I was like, wow, this is the whole purpose and intention of what we're doing. By the way, it took 45 minutes to figure out how many genders there are in a community, in a group in San Francisco, because we started with female and male, and we were very quickly told that there were more options than that. And this was the first question I ever asked to a group. And so we just said, all right, let's figure it out together. How many are there? And there's 5, by the way. There's 5. And actually, with the millennial generation today, we use 5. And that is just what works with millennials. So what was very extraordinary and unique, and the only time we saw that, 20 plus years ago, is now a basic. Well, of course, there's 5 choices when you think of gender with today's young generation. So the whole concept, and I'm just going to break this down real quickly, is how do you find the collective intelligence and shared wisdom in a group? And what I'm going to say up front is that the second time you work with the group is very different than the first time. Because the second time we've been through it a little bit, we've got some trust, we've learned how these tools and these systems work. So think of an important issue that you think should be addressed in our region today. Like, what would be the most important issue to you? There's 200 people in the room, there's 20 tables. We want the top idea from every table. And so what's key is inspiring creativity and genius at each table conversation. So it's a good mix of people, we've got information, there's some presentations, so people have some framework for this, but we take the top idea from every table, we start typing it in onto a screen. My job is to make sure that the intention and idea of each table's concept is reflected clearly. If you don't see your top idea from your table, we say up front, don't worry, you can offer it as an individual. If you don't see it on those 20 plus ideas, you suggest, and I type it real time, we vote on it. If it gets 51% yes, it makes a list. Pretty basic. But what's key is it's great ideas. That's what's key. We vote on all of them on a 1 to 10 scale in terms of importance and priority. 6 or 7 usually stand out at an 80% level or above, so it's really high. We go, great, that's what's moving forward, but let's see where the conversation is. And so we ask the group, who are we? What's your gender? Where are you from? What sector are you in? How long have you lived in the community? What's your age? And then any other kinds of demographics that the group says, this is important to help us figure out who we are. And we can right away say, look, these 2 ideas here, the women gave it a 9, and it's half of the folks in the room, so we'll move those forward as ideas that move forward. But let's talk about it. Why are those more important for women? Or for everybody who's 25 or younger, this one stands out. Okay, who's in the room? Speak to that. And so we keep doing that until we've learned from each other why something stands out or is more important for a core group than for another group. Pretty basic, right? Pretty straightforward. We call that shared wisdom. The challenge is to do that 100% of the time, period. And if you fudge it all, that group's going to see, I knew it. I knew that this was rigged, or I knew that this was fixed. Another technique is we do a box. It's called the wild card box, where people can write any idea down and put it in the box. And we got to stop. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. And you put it in the box because we know sometimes the most difficult thing to say is not going to be said out loud. And so we have all these ways for people to get their input. And doing that process on one question at a time and doing that consistently is how you lead to common ground on what's important, common ground on what we want to do, how to do it, and why certain groups or certain parts of our community should do it differently than other groups. That's the basic process that we learned in '92 with the Perot movement. We went out with some good ideas, but we were quickly taught with a group up at the College of Marin and Marin County how to do this, and it has not changed since then. It's stayed the same. Maybe 25,000 actual processes of doing this since then. We're ready to take all that experience and take it into Palo Alto and scale this and have this be in every city in the country. We figure about 1,500 cities in the country is where this fits. And that's it. And thank you, Doug, for leading the way.